And if you haven't read the description, we're going to talk about smell.
And yeah, we are.
This is another example of fucked up releases because it's actually still in cinemas, but it's only at certain times during the day. So if you're working, you're not going to see it.
Yeah, that shit drove me insane. I was looking forward to seeing it in theaters because I mean that's the way you're supposed to watch horror movies, just in a big crowd. There's something magical about that. But yeah, whatever. I guess if I can watch it on my couch in my sweatpants, that's a close second, I guess.
That has its merits too, because you're not having to, you can pause, you can go do your business, you can top up, you can chill out. But there's something about it's part of the we've talked about this before. It's part of the ritual.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know when it's coming out, you're getting dressed up, you're planning, you go for a bite to eat beforehand, afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's all part of an experience. Going in, you're looking for the nudes, you're looking for somebody that's been brought along as a boyfriend or girlfriend or a family member who's a non-horror fan, and you're clocking those people out to wait to see their reaction. You're looking for the old diehards. It's all part of the experience. And then because of the way cinema is set up, you're absolutely surrounded. You've got the big screen, you've got the surround sound, you're immersed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a completely different experience from home.
Yeah, definitely. And I got to admit,
we were going to cover this.
Man, I wish I could have saw that in theaters.
Once again, remember, I was actually sending Cameron the bloody set here. Here's what's appearing. This is all I can watch. And a friggin' because they only have Barbarian on a Wednesday at lunchtime.
So
I'm like, what the hell is this? You're allowed to watch horror if you're unemployed? Is that the way it works?
I mean, the sacrifices you got to make, right?
God, it's getting to the point you have to book a day's leave to go and watch a fucking movie. Like, it just, as I said, especially over here, we have been hit hard with that over the last couple of years, and the cinema franchises and everything just completely up the left. The whole distribution side of things is balls, and this should not have been a hard thing. Movie gets released, go watch it, but it's becoming a mission.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was the same with this. Didn't get to see it in theaters. It's actually still out, but it's on a fucking full moon during the third zenith of the fucking tidal wave, and you have to say the magic fucking chantra for the doors to open up in the magical cinema to appear to let you actually watch a movie. It's fucking ridiculous.
Right.
But got to stream it, so there we go. The story follows. We've got Dr. Didn't write down her surname. Rose. She's a psychiatrist. Her encounter with a patient leads to a whole series of events, and it's an entity that sort of follows and feeds off misery and fear. And it's like a combination of It Follows and The Ring, because it's like you encounter the entity. Yeah, you've got 5 days, and it follows from person to person. And the only way to sort of beat the things that pass it on, but even the way you pass it on is just not. You encounter this and you're stuffed.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's on the trailer, but the first scene where we see that, I don't think we have this over here. I think like emergency psychiatric wards or like psychiatrists in hospital. I'm not familiar with that over here. I know that if somebody comes into like A&E, for example, and they've harmed themselves and they're deemed a threat, there's a procedure that nurses go through that maybe get that person sectioned or they need to stay under observation. But the idea of the emergency psychiatrist, I don't get, like on call like a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Is that common?
I mean, as far as I know. Like, I mean, it's the same situation. Like, if somebody is posing any sort of signs of, harming themselves or potentially others, they will basically lock them up in a hospital for, I think it's like 48 hours, 72 hours, something like that, for O&A. But ultimately, yeah, they would have a psychiatrist come in and kind of diagnose what the hell's going on and
because
go
they've
from
touched
there.
on this as well in Devlin, Ohio. I don't know if you don't watch it anyway, but it was a Netflix series.
No, I
Absolutely
didn't see
shit.
it.
But she was the main character, not the horror one, but the therapist slash psychiatrist was an on call like a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't think things moved that quickly. Like if somebody was showing harm, they'd be restrained, but then the psychiatrist was doing evaluation the next day. They're more of a 9 to 5, not 24-hour shift sort of thing.
Mm.
That's a bit I don't get, but it didn't fully take
Well,
me out of it.
it does, with not personal experience, but people that I know that have been in situations like that. It is like they'll have people there 24/7.
All right, okay. It's a new thing. Like I said, this is the second time I've encountered this scenario. We're talking about basically like an emergency room psychiatrist, which is a new one to me.
Well,
So
I guess
I'm
we're
not
just
too sure
crazier this side of the pond.
Yeah, well, that's a given.
Yeah.
We've had that fucking conversation, and
Yeah.
like if I had known a few fucking plug holes on a few boats would have solved a lot of problems in the world. But c'est la vie, it is what it is. Just here's your job, corkscrew, fucking Mayflower,
Right.
blub, 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 blub. Job done. Fuck, think if the Titanic hadn't landed, there's another bunch of dickheads. At least you were safe from. But yeah, that was interesting. Just that whole scenario, and I'm kind of fascinated because it's something new to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't necessarily equate that with the emergency room hospitals. So how true to life it is, I don't know. So that drew me in. That whole, like I said, second time I encountered it.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you think of the whole setup, and then the meeting, the session between Rose and Laura Weaver?
So admittedly, the first time I saw it, I was a little put off. I don't know. I was telling my wife, I think the first time we watched it, I was just being kind of a fucking poopy pants or something. But initially, I was just like, this is kind of funky. But like watching it a second time and understanding the tone of the movie and how it plays out, like it was fucking perfect. The performance was great, even down to how she gets like essentially possessed. Like it was a great fucking scene.
I thought it was powerful. One thing that cinema can't translate, and I think this is a problem with psychological horror. We only see physically what they can produce on screen, but it's the actual beyond scene bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always the most effective.
It's they actually tap it in to the trauma. And I don't think they'll ever be able to produce that on screen. And you have to kind of forgive that, I think, and understand that it's actually tapping into, like, we could be in a room together and your primal fears would be different from mine, but it wouldn't be something that could be necessarily manifested physically. It's like drawn into the psyche. And I don't think we'll get to see how the entity does that, because some of the stuff's goofy, the see in terms of the jump scares and stuff. But yeah, I think I have to understand the actual psychosis behind it, or what the entity's tapping into. I don't think it's an easy thing to show on screen.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, that's why showing the monsters as little as possible is always way more effective than when they're in the forefront, because like your mind is way scarier than anything they can put on screen.
Yeah, and that's always been the successful horror movies, the tell don't show sort of thing. It's always lurking in the shadows. It's never fully formed. Like I did the Alien trilogy last night, and of course the first one, you don't see the xenomorph. It's hidden in the shadows. You don't see it in its fully realized form. And then in the second one, yeah, it's supposedly more of an action film, but it still has all the horror elements. and you still don't see the xenomorphs fully.
Yeah.
And it works, even though there's loads of them. They're in the shadows, they're in a horde. You don't actually see the full shape, so it still has that horror element. And then in the third one, we'll have CGI fucking puppy xenomorph. And God, that thing looks awful. I mean, when you see the CGI scenes...
Why didn't you watch the fourth one alongside?
No. There's... What fourth one? No, there's only a trilogy. I don't know.
There's only a trilogy.
I think it was a knockoff from China. They talk about there's other movies, but I don't believe it. You know what I mean? There's a trilogy. Yeah, the third one wasn't great, but that was a complete story told. You know what I mean? And I'm glad they never revisited. I know there's been a few knockoffs and that, but you know.
Bloody.
But that was an example of don't show the full entity. They're perfect for two movies, and the third one's like fucking what the hell? And you just removed any tension and horror. But yeah, we'll kind of get the idea that this has unlocked something. It just seemed like somebody mentally unstable just doing it. And then her reaction to it, which would have been fair enough. But then we start to hear that she's working 80-hour week, she's pushing herself to the limit. So there's something else going on there. Because surely, like I said, it's not like she's a heart... and this is where I've got a problem getting my head around. Mental health is not a quick fix. You know, like, clear, fixed. You know, it's not like that.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. Like the China electrodes are like, clear. It doesn't kind of work like that. It's a slow process. So, like I said, I don't understand a psychiatrist being on call, like, 20 session therapy, stop. You know, I can't meld those two together. So that's where I'm having my problems with her being constantly on call, because logically the therapy session would be held during the day, and the routine would go at night. You wouldn't be holding sessions at like 9-10 p.m. with a current patient. It just maybe to make it an assessment, but even then,
well, I mean, ultimately that's what they're there for.
A nurse can make that, you know.
Well, I think it's to more so figure out what part of the hospital they're going into and what kind of restraints they need and all that shit.
Yeah, triage, but I don't see it as involved as what she's saying. That's where I'm having a difficulty with this character. And like I said, I've countered it before. They've done the same character with that series, and I don't get it. It would be a triage nurse. They're not fully involved with the treatment. They're just making a snap assessment. They're actually not getting too involved with the patient, just from my limited understanding. They'd be making that, okay, this person's likely to self-harm, they need to go there, or if they're sedated, recheck it an hour. But I don't see her being in that intense environment, like a heart surgeon or a trauma surgeon. And that's what they're trying to build her up to be. And this is where I'm having trouble, like I said, trying to reconcile those two elements with this character. And that's been my difficulty throughout this movie.
I mean, if that's the worst of it, then that's cool.
Yeah,
I don't know. I didn't have a problem buying into like her being there and her putting in that kind of work. I mean, especially as time goes on in the story, because we realize that she's fucking crazy. So,
absolutely.
For me.
And it becomes obvious, like, a day or two. Like, she kept referring to Rose as my patient. I lost my patient. And even her supervisor goes, her sister, was it her sister? This is somebody you met for 10 minutes. Who just said that line?
That was her sister.
It was her sister?
Yeah.
Somebody you met for 10 minutes. Why are you losing your mind over this? Which
I mean, you watch somebody kill themselves. If you don't got the stomach for that, I mean, that's going to fuck you up. So her sister's kind of a cunt.
Well, her sister is a cunt, but that's completely, you know.
Yeah.
The thing is, her sister's a cunt, but then we see why, and you kind of have sympathy for her briefly. Not a likable character, neither is her husband. That's another issue I have. These are not likable characters, which doesn't help.
You know what? honestly, I think that worked because like it definitely gave me more sympathy for her. Like especially the interactions with her husband. Like he was, I mean, she's essentially his beard. Like that guy, he's not straight. That so that's
Do you
like
know what he
already
made
a
me?
fucked up dynamic.
Do you know what came to mind when I first saw him?
Uh
Do you remember our good friend Captain Turtleneck?
oh god. Oh god. Yeah, holy shit. That totally is Captain Turtleneck. Oh my god, I didn't even think about it. I really need to rewatch that movie.
Oh god, that's
But yeah, it's straight up. Holy shit. Yeah, that guy is
Captain Turtleneck returns.
Yeah, straight up. Oh my god, I'm not gonna be able to see this shit the same again. Yeah, it's the same dynamic. Like that dude is just in a completely different movie. He's a fucking asshole. Like that shit. The moment that she freaks out because she sees her patient standing in the shadows of her kitchen as she's sitting there with a glass of wine. Which, let's be realistic. You had a shit fucking day. Why are you using a glass? Just pull the fucking cork out, go sit your ass down and just pound from the bottle. Like that's what a normal human's gonna do. But yeah, like that instance where he comes home, he scares her, she drops it, and she's like trying to just vent to him, like, this is what happened. And he's just staring at her like she's an asshole. And then she stops. She's like, no, just never mind. I'm fine. It's like, what the fuck? Like, if you are somebody's partner, like, you should be concerned. You should want them to be able to tell you everything. Like, what kind of fucked up relationship are they in?
Yeah, and somebody necking themselves in front of you, like in a gruesome way. Even though she's in that environment, she might have seen that once or twice. But maybe
I still
not
can't imagine it being easy, though.
No, that's not a normal thing to happen to you. It's like,
yeah, because it's one thing to be in a work environment or in a medical environment. Like, you're going to see people die. That's just what happens when you're at a hospital. Yeah.
And you probably see the aftermath
people
of an overdose. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's completely balls to the wall out there. That's sensory overload. And I've had too many people decide they've had enough with this world. Still haven't seen it up close and personal, which I don't want to. Still a shock, but they actually have it done in such a way. You'd have a bit of a, oh shit, here, have another fucking. And they're trying to do this middle class thing, the uppity middle class type people, but they're both trailer trash essentially. When you see the house, the upbringing they come from, so it's like, you'd revert back to type, fucking plug. So it's weird dynamics. The characters are too fake, and maybe it's part of the psycho. We'll see as it unravels as part of the psychosis. She's built up this image of persona.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you're chugging white wine anyway, you're an idiot. Oh god, that's fucking.
Yeah, man, just go straight for the bourbon or something. Come on, like
get something decent in you. Fucking wine.
Right?
Jesus Christ. I just didn't feel any. I just felt a coldness, and people going through the motions, and then you know sympathy for the character because you're like, oh god, these are fucking arseholes.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that puts me off trying to be successful in life. I don't want to be in those circles. I don't want to mix with those people. I can barely stomach them when I have to work with them, but I have no desire to live that lifestyle and be that. If that's what you have to be to like be financially successful and that, and be that sort of fucking idiot. No thanks. I'm good. It calls something in me when I see these type of people, the way they live their lives and play it. I'm just disgusted.
Fair.
But when I see trashy people too, I get the same revulsion. So I don't fit in anywhere. It's just.
See, I just feel that way when I see people in general. It's just like, ooh, gross. Yeah. Like, there's a few that I like. There's a lot that I'll tolerate, but for the most part, man.
Yeah, it's just like, go away.
Like, I was born to be a hermit in the woods. But that's pretty much it.
I can see that. I can go that too. Just I like my comforts too, so as long as I can build myself comfortably.
Yeah. As long as I got running water, electricity, and good internet, just throw me in the middle of the woods. I'll be happy.
That'll be it. Of course, we get introduced to Mustache.
Yeah,
and
which
we may
that
as well
okay.
got a fucking billboard out.
Yeah, it was. I had a problem with it initially because it's like, oh, obviously they're gonna kill a cat. Why are you introducing a cat? Like that's the only reason animal is there typically. But
And
I
especially
will
with football,
say it was so poorly done that it worked perfectly for me. Like I understand it was supposed to look real. It did not look real. Like especially the scene with the kid pulling him out of the box. That kid literally had nothing in his hand. And I
yeah.
dug that. But why they gotta kill the animal? Why? I always kill the animal. You're fucking assholes with that.
And it's a trope that's been done time and time again. And they already set it up because the way she got the footballs out 3 times, they're making a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just a background character to say that had a cat, especially this big, empty, cold house.
Mm-hmm.
And the one cat, like you'd have at least 5 cats. Let's be honest, if you have that space.
Yeah, at the very least.
At the very least. So the one singular cat, you know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, just reminds me back that the most horrific scene, it wasn't even gruesome, but there was a Clint Eastwood movie about a serial killer. It wasn't Play Misty for me. It was another one that his families had like all these dogs, like running about and yapping, and the freaking killer took them all out. I was like, oh, you bastard.
Yeah, I hate it. It's such a lazy fucking trope. Like, oh, this is how we show that this person's evil. No, just show us the person is evil. Like, we'll understand. We'll be able to put 2 and 2 together. You don't have to kill the animals. I mean, with this, I understood because it was like just literally trying to separate her from everything so that it could take her in the end. And you know, spoiler, it's fucking successful, but still, it's like, cat could have just ran away. I'd have been okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I've always a problem with that. I just don't like it. It's just, like I said, it's lazy. But at the same time, it didn't work in the sense of this thing's actually taken over her psyche, that she has blackouts and can actually make her carry out actions.
Yeah.
What did you think of the whole, because this played into the whole family dynamic between Rose and Holly, the sisters, that first dinner date scene?
I mean, I believed it. That's how I am with a lot of my family. You just kind of tune out, and then they say something that's like, yes, I should acknowledge that they spoke. Yeah, it's fully fucking believable for me.
See, I don't even go through the motions. I'm just like, nah. Most of my family don't bother because I've nothing in common with them. Never really had them growing up, so I'm like, yeah, that's it. Apart from the odd cousin or 2, generally, my family don't exist. That's just the way it is. Can't be bothered.
Yeah.
Don't see the point in giving up your time to spend with someone that you're not invested in. And just that whole dinner, it's like, why is he even bothered at this point? Especially when you're separating yourselves, you have completely different personalities. You don't like each other for a start. That's obvious. Why do they waste time? But it kind of shows, I think, their own lives, that they're empty because the only people they have are each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like people don't appreciate solitude as much as they should.
There is this, and I think that's what causes a lot of problems. People can't be comfortable in their own company. And it's those that are reaching out and latch on to people, and even people that are not even remotely close to, they'll latch on them just because they're there. And then that's why you have failed relationships. That's why you have problems.
Yeah.
And in the moment, they're trying to say that you're everything I want in a friend or partner, but they're not. They're just filling a void, but don't know how to do it themselves. And this is played out in this movie. Let's be honest. It's like Rose and what do you call him? Trevor. Yeah, like those 2 should not be together.
No,
like they're not. No, they're not even. They're not even friends, shacking up, making building a house or a life for themselves. They're fucking empty vessels. You just kind of drift together.
Yeah, it's so so terrible.
And even
Like,
Rose and her partner.
what's that?
I said even Rose and her partner as well. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
That's, but I think that contributes as well, what this entity feeds on. So it plays out a good section of what it feeds on, and this is the sort of people it's gravitated towards. But it doesn't quite answer. Does the once the entity's latched on, does it go looking for someone like that, or is it just happy coincidence that it finds a new host?
Yeah. I don't know.
That's a bit I'm struggling with as well, because it's like because it can actually control its host's actions and make the host forget or not even realize it's doing this sort of thing. Can it read and write? Can it search people? Can it choose its next victim? Or is it on the clock and just has to find someone?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would imagine it'd be the former, but at the same time, with stuff like this, I don't mind not knowing everything because it adds to the the mystery of the entity and how it works. Because I mean, we get stuff like It Follows, and that was pretty straightforward how it works, and it was like, oh, okay, cool. Never revisited it. This one I'd watch again.
I'm not. I might get another run through, but it's not something I'd be like super excited to pick up just because once you've seen it, you've seen it. It's one of them type of movies.
I mean, I don't know. I dug it the second time like way more than I did the first time. But this is also like my kind of shit. Like I love stuff that feels like it's stylistically from the late 90s, early 2000s, like almost like the early James Wan type of shooting. And that's what this felt like to me. Like I loved it.
Okay, and then what's that? Cal's character, the ex-boyfriend, like what was the point of him apart from a plot device?
His character worked. I mean, he was the driving force behind rather her finding out what's going on with the curse and how to prevent it, and then ultimately fail. Like he was a weird one.
But in being an ex, he could have easily been a sympathetic police officer that maybe was looking into this himself.
I don't know, like the X angle, it makes sense to me, especially because like it's set up from the get-go that he clearly wants her. It was not a mutual breakup. So it makes more sense why he's doing shit, like going out of his way to get information for her, going out of his way to get her an interview with the only survivor of this curse. Like a sympathetic cop's not going to do that shit because this is just, a random person from work. Whereas this guy's like, hey, maybe I can get back in her pants this way. So I bought it.
I don't know. I just got the feeling that there was a chance for us to expand out and it just centered on the same characters and you just went around the circle. Because with these type of movies, I like the exploration part and the investigative part. And it just felt like she investigated once and then went back into her circle again. She revisited the same people. And that's what I find a bit frustrating. Where I'd like her to maybe delve a bit more into it and meet new characters, even if only briefly, to maybe fully discover the horror of this and how long it's been going. And it just felt like she dipped her toe into it and then retreated straight back into the same circle of 5 people.
See, I kind of see it as like because they didn't explore the extent of like how long this has been going on. They didn't see all the people that were the survivors of the victims. Like I feel like that kind of leaves it open to if they want to bring back or if they want to come back to this story, they can with a different character and maybe explore further back. So I think it's smart on their part if they did want to do this sequel. But
oh god, it's also don't get a Sinister 2 type thing.
Yeah.
That's they tried that. They tried that with
Sinister 1. It took me a while to actually stomach watching the first one, and then of course I saw it and actually enjoyed it. Second one, yeah, definitely not so much.
Yeah, I don't think this is not a franchise. I don't believe it's a franchise.
I don't know, man. I gotta argue with that. Like because the thing is the entity like everything that we saw on screen of the entity is the manifestation of her own psyche. So they could play like the same beats with a different character and have completely different visuals, and it could, I don't know, I would like to see where they go with that, if that was ever a thing that they were going to do.
Well, I guess this movie was pretty successful. It's actually been lauded. Just where I don't like hype, you know, me with hype of movies, it kind of puts me off. But generally, this has been well received. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed this movie. Didn't hate it. Just a few bits that are just not sitting with me. And I don't know whether it's purposeful or just my reaction to certain characters and people. You know, a certain, as we talked about at the start, this fucking middle class subset live in a bubble. I don't like. So these characters, you know, makes it difficult for me to have sympathy for the characters. I'm on the side of the beast in this case. You know, I'm more interested about the beast and what it can do, and the fact that it is a talking, thinking entity and not just a mindless thing. I want to delve more of that. The characters are beat puppets, as far as I'm concerned. Especially this lot.
I don't know, man. I feel like we got that pretty well, because again, it's one of those things where you don't want to see the monster more than you have to, because that's what makes it scary. But the fact that anytime she does see the monster prior to like the full blown possession,
and even that was
terrifying. Like the scene with the therapist when she's sitting there going over.
That was the best scene in the whole movie.
Oh my god! And it's so funny too, because that's a trailer moment, and in the trailer it's like, oh, that doesn't look good. But once we get the context, it's like, holy shit, that's effective, because it's out in the open, because they're in their living room or whatever, which is just nothing but windows. It's the middle of the day, so it's bright as shit. All the colors are vivid. Like, it's the opposite of where you'd want to put a jump scare, so it was so effective.
And that's, I've talked about this before, that's the best horror. It's done in daylight. I don't think a lot of horror directors understand the power of this. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, middle of the day. Still the most impactful movie of all time, and it still gives people the heebies.
Dude, the one that still gets me to this day, like anytime I think of something that like got under my skin, it's The Witch in the Window. Like, just being in the middle of the fucking day and hanging on it. You know, again, I'm usually a fan of less is more, but when it gets to a point where it's uncomfortable, like, that's pretty sweet too.
Yeah, because we use the when it gets dark, spooky shadows and all that, but if you can pull off horror, sorry, I'm about to cover you. Sorry about that, I can't get rid of this thing. Yeah, middle of the day, you're supposed to be safe, you're not supposed to be harassed. And when you get the true horrors happening then, that's fantastic. And it has to be cleverly done. And that's props to this movie for doing that scene with the therapist. So straight-laced until the phone call. Brilliant. Definitely my favorite scene in the whole movie, just because of the impactfulness. And even having seen the trailer, still unexpected. Just brilliant the way, because I was invested and I was going on with the scene anyway, and I'd actually forgotten about the trailer. Seeing it still worked. The one with her sister running out of the house and the head drooping, that didn't work.
It made me laugh. So
yeah, I just what the hell is that?
I'll give it a single thumbs up for that one, because it made me giggle.
Yeah, that might have been the levity of but once again, what I'm saying about how it's so hard to translate a psychotic breakdown on the screen. It doesn't impact us as a viewer, but Rose, we know, is on the edge. Anyway, and she was on the edge before she encountered this, and that's what we find out going along, that she was just one incident away from breaking apart any roads.
Yeah.
She's working herself to death. She's in a loveless relationship. She's an empty person.
Yeah. Well, and she's constantly battling with the trauma from her childhood, where she watched her mother OD, and of course at the end we find out that mom tried to get her to save her, but she was fucking terrified of her and secretly wanted her dead.
Yeah, because it's not right for a child to go through that.
Yeah, I mean,
the whole backstory
as a
of the
child
murder,
that grew up somewhat like that, yeah, I totally get it. Like not wanting to help. It's like, if they check out, that means I don't have to deal with this anymore. So, yeah, I get it.
yeah, all right. I'm a firm believer in a stable home.
Mhm.
I respect anything. You close your front door, and that should be peace. Not
Mhm.
always possible, but still, that should be the mindset. And if somebody's broken and they don't understand that, that's where I've dealt with broken people all my life. Through work and voluntary things. Kind of why I'm a cynical little bastard now, because I just see the pattern repeat, and too many people just put a sticking plaster on it, and they're coasting for a nice, well-paid job, and they're not actually interested in delving in the bottom of the problem. They want to say nice words, they want to virtue signal, they want to do the things like what I said at the start about the actually supporting. If you claim to love a franchise, then put your hand in your fucking pocket and support it. That's worth more than all the virtue signal of the day. And it's the same with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We know what the problems are. It's not a hard thing. It's all down to those first years of your life, how you're brought up, can dictate the rest. So we're seeing Rose's character, and we can understand she feels like she's paying some sort of penance, and she's prepared to work herself to death to pay this penance that she feels she has to, taking the burden on her shoulders as, what was she, 11 when this happened?
Yeah, I was like 10 or 11.
Yeah, what fucking 11-year-old needs to do that shit? And recent experience with an addict is not fun. And it's like, that's not right. What fucking part of your brain doesn't understand you don't get on like this when you're raising a kid? It's fucking that just gets me. But you can understand as this gets more revealed, the deep trauma, and then the two sisters, and like I said, I don't understand why they just didn't cut each other out of their lives. Rose went one direction, and Holly went the other.
Yeah.
And she's playing the middle class soccer mom sort of thing, and that's her role she's found. And the house is filled and noisy with all these people, but it's still an empty house. It's still that.
Just
at
all
least her husband kind of understands it, I think, and that's why he's kind of protective. I think he understands more than fucking Mr. Woodenplank.
Oh yeah, well, not only understands but cares.
Yeah,
like clearly cares.
Even though I didn't rate his character, still there's more of a love in that relationship, and I think Holly's done a better job of trying to break the cycle. But
yeah, definitely.
Why she maintains a relationship with her sister, I don't know, because that's the toxic.
I mean, that's just called having a family. Like you want to cut them out because they're bad for you, but they're still your family. So it's like, I guess I'll kind of talk to them. Like thing is, I relate so much to this fucking movie that it's like, I wonder when I'm gonna get possessed by something that's gonna make me kill myself.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
Hopefully not too
one side of my family in particular is super toxic. One side of my family is super toxic, and honestly, most of them no time for whatsoever. The other side are rough and ready, but they weren't as bad. But it didn't really have much of a opportunity to get to know them. There's a massive age gap for a start. I was a young kid, and they're all in the adulthood, so that didn't help. But there's one side of my family that maybe pass the time of day with. The other side I just wouldn't have anything to do with, and I've cut many of them off. And it's like they're, hello, Colin. I'm like, who the hell are you? Like, there's members of my family would walk past me in the street, and I would not recognize them, and that's a genuine truth. But then again, that's how I'm wired. I burn bridges. That's always been my persona. So maybe I don't understand this. People grasping together for the sake of it. So maybe that's the bit I didn't get from this movie, because I'm like, why are you even still talking to each other? But then that's me going, fucking, I wouldn't bother.
Yeah, because you're smart. Yeah.
Well, we have seen evidence to the opposite of that in real time.
I mean, you win some, you lose some, whatever.
We have seen contradicting evidence to my intelligence and life choices.
But it's all
That's
about
why
how you pick yourself up.
now let's moving forward. That's all we can do. This is where we might disagree. The uncovering of the mystery itself, was it enough for you, or I feel it was kind of glossed over?
Like I said,
Maybe just because I wanted more mystery solving.
See, it worked for me because, like, one, it leaves it open to exploring this more, and it not being stale potentially. But two, like, she's also, like, she was told from the get-go, I mean, it's not the get-go, but about day 2 or 3, that she has 4 to 7 days. Like, that's the average time span of when somebody witnessed a suicide and then committed suicide. So the fact that she only got to explore so much of it, all the while trying to, like, keep her shit together and try to figure out a way to essentially get rid of the curse. Like, I understood she's only going to get so far with it. And I mean, that's why I like her ex-boyfriend character, because it's like, of course, that's the only thing that was going to help to progress her discovery of everything going on.
In fairness, I was thinking more of her using her professional status, and if the Cal character had to be more invested himself researching this mystery, here's what I've discovered, but I can only go so far as a police officer. Maybe you as a psychiatrist can help. You know, a Mulder and Scully type thing I was looking forward to, but maybe because I'm looking for the folklore. I like things that are delved in myth or folklore.
Yeah, same. I agree, and that's why I think, and I hope, honestly, they set up a sequel, because, like, going deeper down the rabbit hole would be awesome.
Maybe a different character completely, as in not the same. If they do the same middle class bubble, I'm out. But if they do it with somebody completely random, and that's where I was trying to figure out: is it looking for? Does it choose its victims, even though it's got a limited time?
Well, and the thing is, it would actually make sense, like, if they picked up if they were to do the sequel, but pick up exactly where it left off, because that's how it works. You see somebody kill themselves, and then you got 4 to 7 days. I mean, pick up with the cop, and obviously he already has an idea of what's going on. He already knows, like, oh shit, like, he's got the list of people, like, he could delve in further with that shit. So I don't know, that again, I guess that's just me hoping that there's going to be a sequel, but that's why I didn't feel like it's why I don't feel like I needed more of an explanation of the curse or anything.
You're kind of seeing the long picture, where I'm kind of wanting enough threads in the original movie. Maybe that's because I wasn't like I said, I didn't like the characters, so I didn't want to spend too much time with them. I wanted to, like, delve away more into the mystery, because these characters are fucking unlikable. Cal, I kind of feel sympathy for. He's a bit of a tragic case, because he's fallen in love with a broken thing.
Yeah.
That he's never going to
get unattainable broken thing at that.
Yeah. We've all been there.
Right.
Back to said stupid fucking choices in life, but yeah. I just maybe I'm looking for that. Maybe a sequel wouldn't be too bad. This did really well, so it's viable for there to be a sequel, because it's been. I don't think anybody's panned on it. I know I'm nitpicking, but I did watch the movie. I just felt, because it was 2 hours long, maybe could have truncated it a bit. Towards the end, it was dragging on a bit.
Some of it could have definitely been hogged off. Like, that's the thing. I have no problem watching a movie that's 2+ hours if it's necessary. Like, that, honestly, that's my biggest gripe with like Terrifier 2. They could have taken an hour off of that movie and it would have been amazing.
They could have taken away the whole storyline of God, what's her face being the chosen one, their father's visions. That added nothing.
No, then took it away. If anything, like, especially that end scene, like, it was just like, why? When the fuck did Rob Zombie take over this movie? Because that felt like Halloween 2.
I think the director felt he had to ramp it up. I think he wasn't expecting the success from the first one, and maybe there's this whole thing of having to ramp it up. And his name's all over it, so he's kind of fucking George Lucas type territory of I'm the director, I'm the producer, I'm this, I'm that. And I think he needed somebody to help him along. I think if he's going for the third one, he needs somebody to help him along, take the burden off, and him stick to the original ethos of art. Because art works so well as just a evil, sadistic being that just lives for the hunt.
Yeah,
that's enough. That's enough.
And
It was
so
mad
goddamn funny
backstories
too. Like, I want to see the cut of.
Do we need to do a deep dive in both of these movies?
I guess shit.
I know. Did I talk about Terrifier 2?
Yeah,
I did, didn't I? I know I unboxed the Blu-rays, but we can. I think, yeah.
I thought you did do a review of
didn't
the
I?
second one. I'm pretty sure you did.
How many fucking movies have I done over the...
Whatever. It doesn't matter. We can fucking talk about it because I didn't talk about it with you.
I think, I think we'll do Terrifier 1 and 2. We'll do it as nice on it. Just go balls deep. Because thankfully it didn't go too far to ruin it. I know we're going off on a tangent, but here, if you've watched this show more than once, it's what we do. We're at the end of this movie anyway, so...
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, this movie is definitely very light on the story. It's all about the atmosphere, the ambiance, and the just sheer terror of what she's going through and not being able to accept it.
Yeah, it's all her character. That's what this is focused on. And I'm more interested in the supernatural entity and where it comes from and how it, what makes it tick and where it. So I didn't get my fix of enough of that without. Once again, don't need to see the monster because we know that the monster shapeshifts. It's been like it shifts to the individual person's own fears. So I get that. I don't need to see a physical creature.
See, I don't know, man. I dug that ending scene, like where we got like a.
That still wasn't the creature.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the cool part though. Is the creature is whatever that person's psyche is terrified of. I mean, it ends up being the mother, and then the mother becomes all gigantic and deformed. And then at the end, what's that?
It wasn't the actual creature. It was a bastardization of the mother figure. So it wasn't. We didn't get a reveal.
Yeah, we did though, actually, because the moment where the creature's like got full possession, like splits open her mouth and is starting to go in. That's not the mother anymore. That's not the mother deformation. That's like just
I don't think it was. For example, I don't think we could see that again. We could see something completely different. I mean, that's going on to your theory.
And I like that idea. I do like that idea.
This could be something. It could be smaller next time and climb into your mouth. It could be a spider. It could be a bird. It could be anything. Just because it happened to be this particular shape doesn't mean that's the final form of the creature. Which, like you're saying, that's what I'm on board with. It doesn't have to be.
Well, it's just, I mean, that's like what Pennywise does, and that's fucking awesome.
It's just a mirror of the psyche, and just she's still seeing it while she's being possessed, and I'm down with that. That's where I wanted to see a bit more of, like I said, story or occasions or some sort of. I wanted a thread of some sort of myth or lore to hold on to. That's all I wanted because I love that sort of stuff. And if it does, and it doesn't have to reveal everything in the second movie if I do go for one, but give me a couple of those threads rather than another character piece.
Well, and see, that's why I think if they were to do a sequel and they were to pick up where they left off, that's how we would get that. Because we already have the whole setup of the entity, how it possesses somebody, and how the curse works. So, and he's already coming into it with that knowledge, both firsthand and from the research. So it would just make sense that he would go deeper into it to see how far back it goes, and if there were any.
Yeah, he's better equipped. Cal's better equipped, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
with the
I
limited
think
time because he's
that'd be
looking in
fantastic.
cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that final confrontation was decent. That could have been so cheesy, but it actually worked out. And then it reminds me back to the argument. Sorry.
Oh, well, I was going to say that's why I feel like the length of the movie kind of worked, because we get so much build up to it that when the final confrontation happens and the possession happens, it's such a little blip in the grand scheme of the movie that it's not cheesy. It's not overdone. And especially because a lot of this, other than the cat, has been practically done. Like, they didn't do CGI smiles. They didn't do, big, scary CGI characters. I mean, of course, there was some shit that it looked wonky, because how else are you going to pull that off practically? Like the stabbing scene in the hospital where she's just going to town. Like that knife is not going to go that fast into somebody.
No.
So of course they had to do
I'll catch a knife.
Plus, once we find out that was just a hallucination anyways, that fits well. So I think the context of everything, it worked really well.
Oh yeah, I've no problem. And you know me, I love griping about CGI effects, but I didn't get that. That's one thing I can say. Yeah. No complaints. I went along and I got everything in its context. Even the wonky bit, like I said, the comedy bit of Holly's head wonking down for no reason. But then when they cut to the scene of her just flipping out in her car by herself and the wee kid watching her, it actually, that could have been a really daft, cheesy scene. But once again, back to the translator under her psychosis, and you see her just in the car, and the wee kid watching, like traumatized, watching, like, who wants to watch somebody losing their breakdown in front of you and not be a person anymore? So that's where the balanced out the cheesiness of that particular scene by flipping it straight across, and it worked brilliantly. And that's what this movie's done so well. Definitely. Is where it could have fallen into complete cheesiness and daftness by bringing it back to it's her head. And this is what I'm saying at the start, why it's so difficult to translate psychosis on the screen. Because you don't know what's in somebody else's head. So what might be a trigger for someone that could completely not affect you, and vice versa. And that's never going to be 100%. You're never going to fully bring that across. But yeah, back to what I said. When you actually see the family home, the fact it's land there derelict and it's in the middle of nowhere, and then it reminds me back to the argument her and her sister have about selling the home. Maybe that's why they're still in touch, because Holly wants rid of that place, and Rose is holding on to it, and there's no viable reason. Like, you still have to pay property tax, don't you?
Yeah.
So if that's land abandoned, the property tax still has to be paid. That's one thing I don't understand about a lot of these movies. These old abandoned homes that stay there for years and years, yet they don't get reclaimed because of property tax. It's the same over here with council tax. If you don't pay your council tax, the bailiffs are coming after you. So why do these homes? Who's paying this?
Right.
At what point legally? I know I'm getting into semantics, but it's always been a running problem with the old abandoned house that just lies there. There's no way that's sat there and no attempt has been made to reclaim it. If Rose is paying the property tax in this, then would she not at some point have claim to the house?
Yeah.
Full claim?
Yeah.
If Holly doesn't want them to keep it, why is she only paying half? Is she paying half the property tax? I know it's a movie, but it's that practicality that niggles at me.
Yeah.
There's some way to break that deadlock, and that's the thing. The property tax is stopping this piece of land and house being reclaimed by somebody. But that's just me nitpicking.
And it's hard not to nitpick shit like that sometimes, because it pops into your head randomly, and it's like that's what you'll pick at. It's like that little bit of hangnail that you just keep going until there's a cut all the way up the side of your arm.
Yeah, that's why I need distractions like lore and stuff. That's why I need to be distracted, because when you focus on that, I'm just, if that's all you're giving me to look at, then I'm going in. Yeah, it all worked out. Like, she didn't want to be found, or she wanted to end the curse, but she drove her car right up with her phone and GPS tracking and stuff, so we knew it was setting up for her to be found anyway. But
Yeah.
that could easily be explained that she's not, the entity is working against her as much as she's trying to work against it. And with her breakdown, so she wouldn't think, like, drives a car right up to the property. If she was thinking more, she'd have driven the car somewhere else and walked in. But that's kind of explained, I think, with the battle between her and the entity. The entity's trying to work its will too, because it wants to carry on.
Yeah.
Cal was a good, I think Cal was a good person to bring up at the end, the witnesses. So while I had problems with his character being the ex and stuff, now you've kind of talked me into his value and merits.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, if he was a good ex in his mind, of course he's gonna know where, like, her secret place is, and, like, if she's trying to hide, where the fuck is she gonna go? The one place that she has to go that's isolated. So yeah, it made sense that he would have been the one that showed up.
Well, it was a good ending. Like I said, it could be set up for a sequel. As long as they don't do Sinister 2 type sequel, please don't do that. That wasn't good. That wasn't a good time. It was annoying because with that movie, there was enough there to make a very interesting franchise to play with, and then they fucked it up. The second movie, I was like, okay, there's
yeah.
That's why I'm so surprised with Black Phone, actually, because it's like, oh god, if this is you, don't ever make a Black Phone 2. Yeah, he mustn't. He might be okay with the original ideas, but not the sequel sort of thing. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this plays out, because it was did really well at the box office. People are raving about it. It's generally positive reviews. It thankfully hasn't got caught into the nonsense. It's refreshing to see a movie that isn't caught into, if you don't watch this, you're an istophobe, fucking blah 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 blah. And if you do watch it, you're an istophobe, blah 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 blah. This stupid shit that goes on. It's nice just to have a movie and talk about it in its own merits. So nice.
Yeah, it's so rare these days, and it's fucking stupid.
That's why if we can keep the dickheads out of horror, you fucking do whatever you want with other franchises and other genres. Crack on with that, but leave us alone, because we can sit here and spend over an hour nitpicking over bits, and in the end, we both enjoyed the movie. And
I dug it. Like, it's funny too. I was nervous because everything I had seen from people I knew that saw it, it was just not good, and it's like, I don't know if I believe them, but fuck it, I'll try it. And yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised with this movie.
Yeah, cool. So there you go. There's our review. Let us know what you think. If you've watched it, obviously leave comments. Start a conversation. Respectfully, of course. Don't be an arse. No need. We have managed to disagree on things and still still keep it civil. It is possible, you know.
Yeah.
Great, guys. Look what you did. You lost Adam when you brought up property taxes.
I mean, I get it, dude. I get it.
Yeah,
I'm fucking home too.
We have the same over here with council tax. It's a fucking it's a strong arming tactic. It's fucking horrible. And they go proper aggressive over here. If you miss, I think, more than a month, the bailiffs will actually come to your door, practically kick it down and take your possessions.
Shit.
Proper militant over here. Obviously, only in England, because if they tried it in Scotland or anywhere else, they get the shit kicked out of them. So they only get away with it in England because fucking English are weak and put up with it. Seems to me, if somebody over here appears with a high vis vest or one of them stupid, a lot of security people wear them stupid tactical vests. It's like, what the fuck are you putting all those pockets? You're only walking around a fucking shopping centre or a supermarket. They're all wearing fucking tactical vests, but people automatically defer to them. It's very, very strange in England. But anywhere else, they just get slapped about for being an arse and get laughed at.
I mean, that's how it should be.
It's something else, but that's another tangent yet again. But if one thing this movie should bring about is the evil of property tax and council tax, because if you bought somewhere, you own it. That should be it, not you're fucking temporarily rented until the government decides it wants to take it off you or have a mechanism to do so.
Right.
But that's our social political fucking bit done. Like it's about that much. Not entire channel. So just like to wrap up, I want to say thanks to our horrific authors. We are nearly at the 100th horrific tale. With about two more stories. So if you're an aspiring writer and author, please send in your submissions. Let's get to the 100th at least, and then we can crack on 2023 to get to 200. It's entirely possible. But I want to say thanks to DP Wilson and Justin J. Hammerstad for their submissions. I know we've been a bit behind with a couple of stories that catch up. Work, illness, school, just a combination of factors. Just
busy as fuck.
Yeah. But we do just remember this isn't our business. It's a hobby. We'll try our best though to keep a constant presence. And in the end, the whole point of this is to showcase independent creators as well as talking about mainstream stuff. You know, it's celebration of the genre. That's what we're here for. So as usual, please keep up to date with the channel. Do the typey clicky things. And until next time, keep it creepy. Keep it horrific.
Horrific.